Bud Light is in the news again after its parent company, Anheuser-Busch InBev, reported a 15.3% drop in sales. It's the latest in the commercial woes for the once dominant beer maker, following a controversial marketing campaign with transgender social media star Dylan Mulvaney. This means since May last year, not only did Bud Light lose its 20-year reign as America's #1 beer, the company also lost $1.4 billion in sales. To cast your eyes back, here was the ad from last year.
This month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya! Cheers!
The campaign was a break from Bud Light's all-American, man-of-the-people image and was not responded to well, which is clear now through the plummet in US sales. At the time of the decision to use Dylan Mulvaney, country singer Kid Rock posted this boycott video, which was viewed over 50 million times.
Grandpa's feeling a little frisky today. Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible. Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
While Kid Rock says he's now made amends with Bud Light, he told Joe Rogan that he still refused to be a promoter of the brand.
I was like, guys, I don't feel right taking your money. I was like, I go, we can continue the conversation, see where it ends up, but honestly, I don't want any corporate deals. I don't feel right. There's not a penny on earth that could make me change who I am or have people look at me in a different way.
Right.
You know, even though it's probably half the country at this point that likes me and the other half wants to put a bullet in me.
Now guys, this has stayed consistent in the news for the past year, ever since Dylan Mulvaney was made a promoter. What did you think of this? Is this the ultimate example of go woke, go broke? I'll start with you, Maddie.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's, I think, partly because it's such a very flagrant example of it. It's hard to think of a brand that is less akin to, say, Dylan Mulvaney dressed as Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's. You have to think, what were they smoking that day? What have they been drinking that day, perhaps? That they made this choice, because it couldn't be further away from the clientele who, you know, normal American blokes who are probably not super woke and are not tuned into these things, and are probably quite sceptical when, you know, more and more kids at their children's schools start identifying as different pronouns or whatever. So what possessed them to do this? So I think the reason it's blown up so spectacularly is because it was just such a departure from what you would expect Bud Light to be doing.
Such a stark contrast. And I think it's one of those situations where it's like, don't fix what's not broken. Not everything needs to, you don't need to jump into a new clientele.
And also exactly, dance with the one that brung you. The all-American man is the secret of your company's success for I don't know how long, probably 100 years or more. It's an old classic American brand. This is often what happens when people are looking for a new consumer base. They end up alienating the people they already have, thinking that they can gain the new people without losing some of the old.
Yes.
It's kind of disloyal to the people that have been loyal to you.
What do you think about it, James?
I mean, I don't see the problem. That's clearly an all-American man selling it, isn't it? Oh, no, that's going to get me cancelled for saying that. No, Maddie's exactly right. I mean, I think that the problem here is you're going to have some jumped-up little social media intern or some marketing executive who's gone off to some prestigious-sounding American university, has had their head full with this complete brain rot, frankly, turned up and said, right, guys, I've got a great idea. All the kids are going to love it. It's on TikTok. There's this person who is now a woman, although, you know, has about as deep a voice as I do, and will come along and say, oh, yeah, we'll drink your beer and we'll double the sales and all the rest of it. And don't worry about all those redneck hicks. They won't know any better, ha, ha, ha. And look what's happened. Billions of dollars of value lost.
The backlash was enormous. I don't know if you remember at the time, because obviously it's the target market is the everyday American, which is a huge, big middle-class American audience that go to these big country music festivals, and a lot of country singers with their huge followings are getting on stage, not just Kid Rock, getting on stage, and audience members are throwing a Bud Light, and they're, as a performative, part of their show, are throwing it back, saying, I refuse to drink it. So it became this big cultural phenomenon where people were actively boycotting a brand for turning their head away from the popular target market.
Yeah, exactly. I remember reading a story about it where they were struggling to find any shops that would actually stock the product because they were so... Well, it was partly because the sales had been so poor because of the boycott, and probably there were some sellers of it who probably agreed with the consumers who were angry about the ad campaign. So in the end, I think Bud Light had to start paying people to sell their products, which is
the
nuts,
opposite of what you should be doing.
But it just shows that some people describe woke as being a mind virus, and I think that's exactly right, and it acts in this kind of way because no company would ever rationally do something like this. It knew that it would crater its sales and its brand image to such a debilitating extent. I think people have now shifted from Bud Light to other beers, maybe some beers that actually taste of something, to be slightly mean about the product itself. But you see this in other places as well.
Yeah.
Here in the UK, there's a Tate & Lyle sugar brand that make this kind of golden syrup stuff, and for a long, long time it's had a little Bible quote on it, right? Strength brings forth sweetness, and they've got rid of that. This beautiful old school Victorian style design. They've got rid of that because someone in the marketing team is worried that it might be offensive to non-Christians, right? And so we're seeing that we just can't have nice things anymore as a result of this.
Well, it's kind of bizarre because, as I said before, they didn't need to do this. And I'm all for inclusivity, especially if you're a new brand trying to grab as many markets as you possibly can. But this is a well-established brand with the number one. It was the number one beer in the US. It's like you didn't need to go out of your way to try and kind of disrupt the market and see what would happen that you've already got.
Yeah. Although I have to say, I was still surprised by the sheer numbers involved here. After they pivoted pretty damn quickly, actually, as it happened, when they saw what it was doing to their sales. They were ultimately... There's the usual kind of sort of face-off between the marketing department and the numbers people who are actually crunching the numbers and saying, don't do this is an incredibly stupid idea. And I think the numbers people must have won because very quickly they ceased that deal. They reverted to kind of all-American man advertising. Almost felt a bit like they were overcorrecting.
I think they were watching Disney, watching what happened there. We can't go down this rabbit hole.
Exactly, but it's to the point where the new adverts were almost like so all-American man that it was a bit ridiculous. They couldn't get it quite right either way. It felt patronising both times. But, they did do that pivot, and this has been some months now, and it continues to crater. The depth of feeling is quite remarkable.
I mean, Kid Rock's obviously moved on. He said that he's happy to make amends. But I do wonder if you guys think that you can kind of come back from such a fall from grace like this.
Well, I think it's exactly as Maddie says, that it shows that the people in this company don't care about their core customer, right? And to the point where they actually denigrate them. If you've got someone like Jeff Bezos, you ask him any question ever, he just goes obsessively about the customer all the time. And that's the secret of this kind of thing. It shows that they think that their core base, they treat them with disdain. Again, frankly, I mean, maybe so, because it's such a tasteless product.
Well, they did feel ostracised and neglected. And I think this is the whole thing with where we are in the world, is that if you are conservative, you're right, when you have Christian values, whatever it may be, they feel, well, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but a majority feel like they're not allowed to be the way they are. And I think when you have such an all-American beer company coming out and, changing the course of the target market, then it's just another example of, I'm not allowed to be myself. And, that's the last thing an American wants to feel when it's a country of freedom.